Hello, my beloved. I'm so glad to be with you again today. So this is week 15 of Operation Home Church, and we are kind of doing a little bit of a review, sort of, because this story of Joseph that we've been talking about goes on for a long time. It's about 1/3 of the whole first book of the Bible. That's the book of Genesis. So we're going to go into another part of it, and there's actually two more parts that we're going to talk about today. So let's review just quickly. So we have Abraham, that God promised he was going to make him the father of many nations. And so he starts to have these kids, and he has Jacob and Esau and everything. And then Jacob ends up with 12 sons. We talked about that yesterday. But interestingly, it's this 11th son, it's Joseph, that is the beloved of Jacob. So he gives him this beautiful coat. You remember, it's a coat of many different colors. And Joseph is the youngest, nearly the youngest, second youngest of all the sons. And the other brothers, the older brothers, do not really like Joseph. He has these dreams. You remember, he had these dreams, and it made the brothers mad. He said, oh, he thinks he's better than us. So they took him out and they stole his coat, ripped it up, put blood from an animal on it, took it back to the dad, said, oh, look at, he died, an animal killed him, that was so sad. And then they said, we're going to put them down in this pit. And you remember, they pulled him up out of the pit and said, oh, look, there's a bunch of traders going to Egypt. Let's take him and sell him off. So that's where we left off. And they sell him off to these slave traders. So Joseph is sent into slavery. And if you look at this picture, you see the no more beautiful coat. You see a boy standing there in blue on the left side, and then you see a man in yellow down below. And in between them, money is taking place, because the man in yellow is buying Joseph, and he's buying him to be a slave. Now, a slave is a person that works for somebody, does anything that they tell him to do, but they get no money. They are just forced to do whatever the owner tells them. Now, this is an owner, like we think of somebody owning a dog or something, and that's exactly what slavery is like. So Joseph was made into a slave. So we see this man in yellow, and his name is Potiphar. And he was one of the leaders in the country of Egypt. He was a very rich man. He did all kinds of things. And he just made Joseph one of his workers. But the interesting thing about Joseph is that he never got bummed out about being a slave. He looked at his life as, I'm working for God. And he always looked at it that way. So when he worked for Potiphar, he wasn't pouty and feeling bad about it. Now let's think about how that goes with us. Do we ever pout when we have jobs that we don't really want to do, or that somebody gave us to do, our mom and dad or something, and we don't really want to do it, and so we're kind of pouty and we don't do a good job. Maybe we just do it quickly. Well, Joseph didn't do that. He looked the whole time like God had put him in this situation, and he was working for God. So this is interesting for us to think too. If things were bad in our life, would we give God credit? Would we try to listen to God and not to our circumstances, which maybe were bad, like for COVID time or something, when things are not the way we like them to go? Sometimes we want it to be the way we want it to be, and we are not going to be happy. But Joseph went on and he did his job, and he did such a good job. There was another person, that was Potiphar's wife, and she thought Joseph was very interesting too, and she noticed how clever he was, and she made a trick. And she tried to trick him into something, and when he came along, he saw immediately, and he ran away. Potiphar is really angry, and he hauls Joseph off to prison, and he's putting him in this very bad place. So then we get at the second part of our story. He went from being kind of a hero as a slave, and now he's in prison. And he's thinking, we might go in a very sad place there, mightn't we? But Joseph didn't. He remained a happy person, and he remained helpful to the people that were in the prison with him. And there happened to be, and he's in there for a couple of years, and there happened to be two that came along that were put in prison with him. And they had been workers or leaders in the Pharaoh's family. And the Pharaoh is the leader of Egypt, like the king. And these two men, one was called a cupbearer. He kind of mixed the drinks and poured them for the Pharaoh. And there was another man who was the chief baker, like the royal baker. He made all the baked goods. And Joseph was nice to them. And one day they were feeling so bad. Both of them had a very bad dream. And so Joseph came to them and he said, "Tell me about your dreams." Because, you know, Joseph remembered that God had shown him some dreams when he was young. So he's familiar with this, that God would give dreams. So he has the cupbearer describe the dream, and you can see in the picture there's 3 clumps of grapes, and he's squeezing them into a cup. And so Joseph says to him, "Well, this is what this dream means, that God is going to put you back into Pharaoh's household and you're going to be his cupbearer again." Oh, he was so excited. "That's wonderful," he said. But one more thing that happened before the cupbearer went back to work is that he talked to Joseph and he said, "They're going to take me back." And Joseph said, "When you go back to Pharaoh, please tell him about me. I am in here. I'm innocent. I did not do anything. And so please tell him that." So the cupbearer agrees that's what he's going to do. But you know what? He didn't. He forgot, and he got into his job. And sometimes we're like that too, aren't we? We promise something and then we don't do it, and it can hurt other people. So when we make a promise, we need to learn to keep it. But one day the Pharaoh came in and he was feeling so horrible because he'd had this horrible dream, a couple horrible dreams in the night, and he felt terrible. And the cupbearer heard about all this, and the Pharaoh had brought in all these wise men to try to interpret what do these dreams mean. They were so strange and kind of scary. And so the wise men came, and they had no idea what these dreams meant. And they said, "Well," and then we see our little cupbearer, and he's saying, "Oh, you know what? I know someone that knows how to tell dreams." And then he remembered his promise to Joseph. So he told Pharaoh about Joseph. The Pharaoh brings Joseph back. He brings him in to interpret the dreams. And Joseph says, "No, it won't be me. It will be God. God will be telling me the dreams." So Pharaoh begins to tell his dreams. There were 7 fat cows and 7 skinny cows. And the skinny cows came and ate the fat cows. Now, this is very strange because cows don't eat other cows. They don't even eat meat. They only eat grass. So the Pharaoh was very confused by this. And he said, "And then I had another dream." And you can see in our picture here, he's got 7 plump and kind of nice looking pieces of wheat, and then he's got 7 very droopy, skinny, ugly pieces. And he was very confused by all this, and Joseph said to him, "The dreams mean the same thing. They mean that you're going to have 7 very good years followed by 7 very bad years." And he said, those are what both of the dream means. And it's a warning to you from God that this is about to happen. So can you think of anything that Joseph might recommend to Pharaoh? Something that he would advise him to do? So we're not going to tell the secret. The secret comes up next time. Joseph is going to do something, and he's going to tell some advice to Pharaoh, but that's for next time. To be continued.